Today, ANC Deputy Secretary General Jesse Duarte will lead the ANC officials in paying tribute to the late NEC member. For the latest now, let's cross live to our colleague Natasha Phiri. Natasha, have politicians arrived at the family home yet?
A very good afternoon to you, Desiree, and to our SABC viewers. Indeed, some politicians have started arriving at the family home, but remember, it's only limited to 50 people. So hence, we heard that clarion call by the provincial secretary of the ANC in Emalahleni, Emalahleni, who's also here today, asking that people refrain from coming here. But what people can do, those who want to pay their last respects, is that they can come through a drive-by and just quickly drop off their wreaths and then get back into the cars and leave. And this is a site we actually saw earlier on today, where the Ex-Political Prisoners Association of South Africa did the very same thing. And I'm actually joined by the Secretary General of the organization, Mr. Masemola, who had a close relationship with the late Minister Mthembu. And let's just ask him, how's he feeling right now? It's quite a shock. The news of the late Minister Mthembu shocked the whole nation. And I assume you were one of those who are really in disbelief. Mr. Masemola.
Yes, firstly, I want to send our heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family and comrades and his friends in the ANC and also political prisoners. Yes, indeed, it was a very, 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 serious pain to all of us, his comrades, and also, it was a shock also to the people of this country.
What relationship do you actually have with him? We know that the late minister, started his youth activism days at a young age. He was very active in politics throughout 1976. He and 29 other people also got charged with sabotage, treason, and terrorism. What relationship did you have with him?
The gist of the story starts here. It was in 1985. Here in this township called Akaville, during the formation of the Congress of the South African Students. There's a church here just near you, and COSAS was formed there. And for point of correction, Comrade Jackson Mthembu, during that time, he was working at Highveld.
Yes.
Still, he was a worker, and he was not the member of COSAS, as the previous speakers have said before. May his soul rest in peace. And we started to know each other, to engage politically. Comrades like the late Sam Mkabela, Mandla Malika, Pet Mashiane, Johnson Mahlab. So that was the core, and Peter Mnisi. That was the core of the leadership that has inspired during that time, including Comrade Jackson Mthembu. And it happened that during the height of the struggle, from 1986-87, we were arrested while we were working underground. And we were the first people to be arrested. And we were detained under the notorious Section 29 of the Internal Security Act. And Comrade Jackson was also arrested, and he was charged with Section 29. We met at the prison that is called Paxton Prison. And he was very much inspirational, politically, together with Sam Mkabela.
Sorry to cut you in there, Mr. Masemola. You met him as a young person. What memories do you remember of Mr. Mthembu?
I remember him as a very fond, person, a very humble, gigantic person, and the ever smiling. We used to call him Mfogababa. We call ourselves Mfogababa. It was during the formation of the youth formations here in the township. And, he was a very respectful person amongst his peers. And he respected all of us. He never raised any finger to all of us here as his comrades during the underground struggle, and also during the overtly operations after we were released from prison. And his name also, people know him as Jackson Mthembu. We call him, as close to him, all the comrades were calling him Prof. Actually, he's not a professor. That name originated in prison. His name was Profita, because during the political discussions, he used to predict and say, look, I can prophesy that we are not going to be detained more than 6 months or a year. And then Sam Kabela will dispute that and say, no, it's not scientific of what you are saying. But we enjoyed those political discussions together with him. And during the 80s. And I would like to say people should not claim his victories.
Yes.
And, and speak lies about him. And we have seen a lot of comrades yesterday, they spoke, and then it was not true what they were talking about, because they claimed that they were working with him in the 80s. And some of them, they were very young in the 80s. And it's very much embarrassing when you see leaders speaking, wrongful things about, Comrade Jackson.
Mr. Masamela, you mentioned something that also caught my attention, my ears. You used to call Mr. Mthembu prophet. I mean, he also had close ties with the church, more especially the South African Council of Churches under the leadership of Reverend Frank Chikani at that time. And in 1988, he led a convoy of about 300 members, as a SWAPO support group. So, I mean, he played a pivotal role, not only in the liberation of this country, but in Namibia as well. Tell us about his relationship with the church.
Yeah, well, because the ANC, most of the fundamental principles and most of its leaders were church leaders. And the formation of the youth formations, COSAS, was formed inside the church, in the perimeters of the church, here in the Roman Catholic Church. And Jackson was a member of the Roman Catholic Church. I remember Father Mkacha was also here. And then during the height of the struggle, some of the comrades here, Comrade Banda, Comrade Sylvester, we were hiding there in the church, inside the church. So the church played a very much pivotal role in the struggle as a sanctuary when we were running away from the police. And Father Mkacha were hiding some of these comrades there. And Jackson also appeared as the leader of the youth during the day and doing the underground during the night. And as a result, because of the MCW and the MK work that we did during that time, we were subsequently arrested. And most of the comrades went underground. That is why I said before, he was arrested, and then we were detained under the notorious Section 29 at the Paxton prison. And as a result, some of us were convicted under terrorism, and Comrade Panda, Comrade Sylvester also, and a lot of comrades that are here at the back, these women, they were also detained, and they took part during the height of the struggle. They are former political prisoners. We are here to pay our revolutionary last respect, and to him to say we thank you, we thank you, we thank you a lot.
Lastly, you talk about the role that he played as a youth activist. Seeing that it is said, especially in the ANC, the ANC Youth League is not as robust as it was before. I mean, we've seen times and times again, there was supposed to be an ANC Youth League conference that was held, but unfortunately got postponed over time. And now the NYTT is now tasked with taking the ANC Youth League to conference. What lessons can the young people, young activists within the ranks of the ANC and other political parties as well, what lessons can they take from the late Ubab Jackson Mthembu?
Yes, indeed. We are picking up the spear. We are saying to the youth they should pick up the spear. And, Jackson was an embodiment of the youth. His ethics, his ethical standard of discipline, and also, engaging with the youth. He was the man of the people. And it's unfortunately now that the ANC Youth League, is not operational, and because of some other political reasons. It's unfortunate, because if Jackson was around, I think the youth of this township, you could have seen them, in jubilation, in a celebratory mood to celebrate his legacy and, political legacy, and then, taking us forward. And he was an inspiration also to the youth. And to some of us, to saying the youth must not lose hope. We will form the ANC Youth League. The youth will take part, in the necessary struggles of the youth of the ANC. And remember what Jackson, his humbleness. Leadership is not about, making noise and singing about struggle songs. No, we are talking about ethical leadership. And Jackson, his anti-corruption stance, it is well known. And this association that you see here is well known for its anti-corruption stance. For instance, at Robben Island, and there's a corruption case which has been launched by this association. And we are saying to the youth of South Africa, they must not lose hope. Jackson was an embodiment of the youth through doing good things. And he was a typical disciplined cadre in the struggle for justice and liberation.
Okay. Thank you so much, and thanks for your time. Condolences once again from us at the SABC. Well, Desiree and our SABC viewers, you've heard it there from Mr. Masemola, who's the Secretary General of the Ex-Political Prisoners Association of South Africa, just talking extensively about Mr. Mthembu, the relationship that they had, and the pivotal role that he played here in, Witbank, in Mpumalanga, Emalahleni, Desiree, his youth days, his youth activism days, the Bethel trial days, and when he got arrested, also imploring the youth of the country there to take a leaf out of, the book of, the life and times of Jackson Mthembu as well. So, nothing but good things said about this man who was described as a principal leader, a political giant who, really fought hard for the freedom of South Africans and, of his political home, the ANC. And just talking about the ANC, Desiree, do know that the Deputy Secretary General, Jessie Duarte, will be coming here around 2 o'clock in a drive-by where they will pay tribute to the late Jackson Mthembu and the Mthembu family, by also laying wreaths as well. But just that resounding call from the ANC asking and requesting that people do not come to the family home because they need to adhere to COVID-19 regulations. Remember, only 50 people are allowed to actually be or attend a funeral. So the ANC just making that call, but also a reminder to our viewers that tomorrow the late minister will be laid to rest, and proceedings will actually start around 9 a.m. The ANC and GCIS are planning separate memorial services on Monday. So do indeed stay tuned and glued to SABC News as we bring you the latest.
Natasha, of course, within the confines of the COVID-19 protocols, do we have an idea yet in terms of tomorrow's program, in terms of who are the 50 people who will be allowed to attend?
Well, Desiree, we are told, and we're still waiting for final confirmation from government, more especially from GCIS, but there's an indication that the funeral will actually start at 9 a.m. President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver his eulogy, I beg your pardon for that, and of course the family is expected to also come, and send off their father, their brother and husband. So that's just the rough sketch of tomorrow's program, but around 3 o'clock we will get final confirmation of the funeral details tomorrow.
Usually we have dual programs where the one is the physical one where the 50 people are attending, and there's also the online aspect to it. Do we know if there will be either a Zoom aspect to the funeral?
But what I can tell you from this point on is that in terms of the memorial services that are to be conducted on Monday, both the GCIS and the ANC Memorial, is that there will be Zoom links that will be provided. But as a public broadcaster, we will be broadcasting his send-off tomorrow that is likely to start around 9 a.m. We're not so sure about online platforms, but I mean, in times past, we've seen, when prominent people are sent off, Desiree, there are normally YouTube links or Facebook links where people can actually tune in and watch those services. Also TV as well. We've got, all these broadcasters here, so definitely a live feed will be provided for those who are interested in watching the minister send off tomorrow.
Any sense, Natasha, of how the family is now? It's been a few days since the event happened. How is the family coping so far?
Well, Desiree, the family is really struggling to come to grips with his untimely passing. Just yesterday, speaking to the late minister's brother, Mr. Michael Mthembu, who was really struggling to hold back his tears, saying that the Mthembu family will no longer be the same, as they lost a pillar. They lost not only a father, but a brother, a loving figure to this family. And remember, Desiree, this was a man who dedicated his life not only for the people of this country, but his family as well, and his community. He loved his family, although he was always at work, but he always made sure that he made some time for his family. In the words of Uput Michael Izolo Desiree, he was just relating and saying that when he was ill some years back, the late minister would always make sure that he comes and visits him every weekend until he was back to good health again. So this is the kind of person that he was, and you could understand that the family is still in shock. The family is still, reeling right now, because this is really unexpected. Mr. Mthembu was just the person. Just last week, he tweeted on social media that he would be getting medical attention, and his death, the news of his untimely passing, has sent shockwaves throughout South Africans. We also saw leaders of political parties also weigh in, and they had nothing but good things to actually say about him. That yes, he was in the opposition, but he was a respected and revered colleague who would listen to the views of all and sundry, despite the ANC being his political home. He was really, really a principled man, in the words of all these other political party leaders. Incorruptible is how they described him, and he stood for his own truth. This is a man who spoke out against corruption within the Zuma eras as well. So you could understand the kind of caliber that South African politics have lost. He's also been labeled as a political giant, and his home, political home, the ANC, saying that they are struggling to come to terms with his passing. He was also a man who was at the forefront of the COVID-19, messaging in terms of government, Desiree, and it's quite ironic that the same message he was preaching against unfortunately had to succumb to COVID-19 COVID-19 related complications. So it's quite sad for the family, and them having to plan his send off in just a short space of time isn't helping as well. Yesterday we spoke to Mam Lindiwe in Chalinchali, and she was just saying, listen, the family is struggling to come to terms with this. They are strengthened though by the messages of condolences that are coming through from all and sundry, from all South Africans, but it really is a difficult time, as they'll never ever see this person again. They'll never get to spend some time with a father, with a brother, with a husband that they described was loving.
Thank you so much for that update, Natasha. Just once again reiterate, you say the Deputy Secretary General of the ANC, Jesse Duarte, will be there at 2 p.m. Natasha Phiri there.
Definitely, Desiree. We expect the Deputy Secretary General of...
Absolutely, go ahead.
Hello, Desiree. Oh, sorry about that. Definitely, we expect the Deputy Secretary General to come through at 2 p.m. And of course, just quickly pay her respects and brief members of the media.
I saw Natasha nodding vigorously there and thought she wasn't going to say a word. Apologies for that, but thank you for the update. Natasha Phiri is outside the Mthembu household in Mpumalanga.